and welcome to Critical Tumble, where a bunch of longtime friends and internet nerds transcend geography through the power of Discord to play Dungeons and Dragons, and critically fumble a lot. We are missing a Dragonborn today, rather unfortunately, as poor Antheus is not feeling overly well, but I have plans. I have kitchen witchy plans. So hopefully we will be able to help him feel better. That does not help us today, though, because I cannot teleport things. I'd be happy to teleport things. It's people that concern me about that, but that's a rant for another week, I think. Previously, the Cupcake Coterie wound up in the Kobrea-Val mining consortium tunnels, which, to be honest, is most of Kobrea-Val that isn't like Agref and a couple of podunk-ass farms dotted around the exterior. Nobody's ever actually seen very much of what above ground Kobrea-Val looks like. There's not much of it. It's Agref, a strip of land, and like everything underground. It's weird. Then again, so is most of Equitas, if you think about it. They're technically going to ultimately go and face down an ancient blue dragon. However, there's a couple of detours along the way, which they're not going to spend too much time on, but things that they want to do mostly to refill the coffers. One is planting and testing some explosives, and the other is hunting up a purple worm with the help of a tracking beacon thing given to them by the First Principles, a group of natural philosophers, scientists in short, who are very, very interested in them as, like, frankly, science experiments. I mean, okay, a couple of you, it's mostly, sociological kinds of bits and pieces, and how governments in that podunk country across the mountain range work. And for everybody else, it's, you're from where? You have a what? You've been blessed by who? And things like blood samples and other assorted bits and pieces. And y'all told them about you. There is one bit you forgot about, which might be a good way to stall, actually. So we'll get into that. But before we get into that, if I recall correctly, when we were trying to rush from our running over time last time, Clarity wanted to have a conversation.
That's when they go to bed.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if there was stuff before that we were going to wrap up or anything.
We'd wrapped up by going to bed, and you said wait, conversation, and I said we had to go, but make a note, and we'll do that. So that was going to be the next thing.
Okay.
Because I don't think anyone had anything else, or at least they were smart enough not to interrupt me while I was trying to get the two of us on this side of the Atlantic to bed. Or it's not an intelligence thing; it's a being excited thing. I apologize. Anyway, by all means.
Okay. So as Hazel and Clarity go into their room, get ready. Clarity puts a hand on her shoulder and says, "Hey, Hazel. We mentioned a while back at the club that maybe we'd have a conversation again, and this is the first time we've been alone since then. So, and she sort of leads her over to the bed and just sort of sits her down and says,
and Hazel's having Kizzy flashbacks. I'm sorry, but
and it's gonna be awkward, obviously, me, but so I'm just going to be direct about it. So Contrary to the rumors that are going around about me, rumors that I myself may have started.
I remember these.
I don't actually do the sex thing. I've tried it a few times, didn't care for it. Discovered it wasn't for me. So, and some people with my disposition are rather flexible about it, I hear, but I am not for anyone. And, well, I want you to be happy, and I know your needs might be different from mine, and I don't want you to ever resent me for any of that. So if my orientation is going to cause some uncomfortableness for you or make you feel unfulfilled in our relationship, then I would like to know before it gets to that point where things get messy.
That is, I have absolutely no problems with any of that at all whatsoever.
Really?
You are awesome the way you are. And I'm just going to reach and boop nose.
I mean, you're not just saying that because sometimes people say those things and then they're like, oh, well, later I didn't think that it was going to be this, like this, or anything like that. And, you're beautiful and you're funny and you're intelligent and fascinating. And I want you to be happy, even if it's not with me. So.
Can I, because I'm pretty sure that this is not a place that a Smeagol brain would go to, but it's a thought, and it's something that, given her experience, Hazel would. These things can be negotiated, says the wisdom of a Hazel. If she needs her needs fulfilled, there are people who are paid for that, and it doesn't interfere with the romantic bits. Plus, Kizzy may have actually shown her ways where she could actually take care of herself in that regard, as it were. I'm just saying that if Hazel would think if Clarity needs reassurance, they could either strike a deal where if she had needs, there's places like the Tipsy Pixie, or I have hands kind of thing. That's a Hazel thing. I'm sorry, but it's something that I don't think Smeagol would necessarily think of, just because I know where he is as far as that's concerned.
It's ironically, Bess, you actually hit the exact same thoughts as they were starting to come up right in my brain. Dear God, what the hell is with this time sequencing?
I think we've just known each other for far too long, but also I tend to be better at putting it into words than you.
Alarmingly so.
I don't think it's alarming. I've lived longer than you.
Yeah, but the difference is far vaster than even that could account for.
Anyway.
Further on those, on the other concerns, Clarity?
Anything. No.
There are places like the Tipsy Pixie, provided you're alright with.
I've never had that kind of relationship before, but I'd be flexible with that part, I think.
And then, of course, there's, well, last time I was at one such location, I got, let's call it a lesson. in how to deal with personal needs.
Okay. Clarity is blushing and then turning her face.
Of course, you're having this very serious conversation with Hazel with bright pink hair.
Detonation is there.
Yeah, it hasn't quite died down yet, so yeah.
Okay. So you're okay.
100%.
Good. Good. Because, you know, my dear, you're going to be snuggled so hard all night long. And then she tackles her into bed.
Hair.
Yes, welcome to the conversation that had I actually known about my own orientation at any point, if Ace was actually considered a thing, would have resulted in less than the cataclysmic detonation of at least 2 relationships. Yay. Ace fist bump. Why are you fist bumping? I know you are not Ace, Ethan.
It's just awesome. Sorry.
Well, one day we'll do an Ace solidarity fist bump, but this is Ace fist bump. Anyway, is that the end of the absolutely adorable conversation, by the way?
Yep, I'm done.
Really cute.
Yes. Morning happens. Although, oh god, given Hazel, I mean, she's not intelligent, but she's wise, and she does think about all the interesting things that Egref may actually have somewhere. She's probably wondering at some point whether Egref has shops that specialize in things for self-gratification.
That's the word.
Because I mean, obviously it does, but yeah, that's Hazel who's sort of waking up. Cake pens. No cake pens. What was I thinking last night? Tick 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 clunk.
Like, honestly, if anyone were listening hard enough, they could probably hear the rattle clunk as everything starts to spin up.
Thus, clarity. She's not the loudest
noise?
person in the world. And very outspoken when first thing in the morning, and she's not quite woken up yet.
Agrif. Shops. And then I'm just staring into the in-between spaces and turning colors.
You look like a tomato. Nom, 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 nom.
At which point, saved by the wham, wham, wham. We're getting up now.
Coffee mandatory, jump out. Stuff back together.
Yeah, given how fast she did that, I do need to make a roll. You don't quite hit Alice with the door, but it's close. And Remy sort of somewhere behind and just sees, whoa! Okay.
Hazel, I don't think you need coffee today.
Coffee, for clarity, is a universal factor.
Okay, that's different.
That's not you needing coffee. Hazel, you nearly concussed me with the door.
Oops. Sorry.
It walks past Pat.
Trudge.
And yeah, she's just hammering on doors. She's just hammering on doors. Just breakfast is happening. Apparently, mushrooms are significantly involved.
would there have been any mushrooms back in, like, first areas around Goldendale that were just, do not touch these things?
It's a forest, of course there were.
So yeah, there were clearly, so Hazel's brain has gone to, wait, mushrooms?
Hazel, anyone who handles mushrooms professionally knows which ones you can eat, which ones will kill you, and which ones will make you see weird shit. They probably have uses for all three. Here it's Kobrea-Val.
Yeah. And
Maybe.
given their tendency for experimentation at almost random, it's always good to read the fine print.
I'm pretty sure they save the hallucinogens for lunch. I
Just
was
that concerned expression.
kidding. I was kidding. Do you not have a grip on my sense of humor yet? No. Just
It's
say no,
debatable.
Hazel. No. In which case, if it's debatable, then the answer is no. Hazel, just say no and walk on.
That works.
Hello. And down at the downstairs, and the first principals are still sitting there. They have replaced the alcohol with a very large, like Barnabas-sized, large urn of coffee that is sitting in the middle of their table, and notes are all around it. And
Are they still wearing the same clothes? Like they look like they haven't gone to bed at all.
no, I mean, well, Jahavarian's jacket is hanging over the back of his chair. But just a couple of them have sleeves rolled up, and Kaiser is kind of. You have a feeling that somewhere under that book, she's probably asleep. She's kind of the most sensible of all of them, but the coffee you can smell from the stairwell.
Darvin's just going to come down, not stealthing, but trying to not be loud.
In which case, that's still a stealth roll.
Oh, it is? Okay. That's fair.
If you're trying not to be noticed, it's a stealth roll.
Oh, I just didn't want to be loud, but okay. 14.
It's not bad. They look up, but you're not being loud.
Yeah.
You haven't tripped over anything or been clumpy or decided to just make a loud-ass comment about what's going on, because it's a Darwin thing. You would do that. I'm sorry, he would.
Yeah, very much so, but I'm like, say like, oh, they haven't slept yet. She's, oh, okay.
I can feel that coffee from here. If I get any closer, I might explode.
I'm gonna ask if I can have some. She walks over to the table. Which point you have frozen?
And I'm just going to look at zombie clarity.
She's sort of following, like you know, when in cartoons where there's like a whiff of like good food, and she's just like,
I will say, a sort of hand on her shoulder. Sit down. I'll get you a cup.
Yay.
A half a cup. You're not used to this shit.
Okay.
And as you guys are sitting down, Proseth sort of goes, okay, one thing I should point out, we told them all the everything about us. We didn't explain about the black shit.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we need to figure out a way to broach that subject without causing...
Yeah, we didn't.
Explosive reactions.
They do have my notes, but it could use some explaining.
We should at least find out if they need any clarification on anything.
There's
Yeah,
gotta be questions from those notes.
If they checked, they had a chance to look at them at least.
that is the thing. At the very least, we should probably tell them to focus away from us for a little while. Maybe read Clarity's notes while we're away, and we can give them more detail on us when they get back.
Mhm.
I might go talk to them about that because honestly, out of almost all of us, it's me and I think Clarity, because you got ill from that fog in an open wound, didn't you? You did, actually. That's how you found out the flower poultice thing worked.
Oh, yes.
They might want blood samples.
Hmm.
I still have some of myself.
I think I still have some
That's
as well. I think all of us
Mhm.
do. I mean, all of us except for Barnabas, Ava, and Alice. Oh. If that's the case, I don't know how much of it we want to give away. I could.
At least enough for them to look at. I mean, I don't know. We don't. Would they need an entire? Well, I guess we need to ask them how much they need. There we go.
If we ask them, they're going to say all of it.
Oh,
As much of it.
They're
They
scientists. They're going to want to examine it under every
right.
under every condition, and save some for if they ever actually encounter it in the wild to see if it, what it does.
Experimentation, right? Oh, yeah.
And
Sorry.
because the flowers from what Petunia didn't stick around, we can't make more.
And probably safest is one jar.
I would say even less.
I was going to say, can we afford even that?
I guess my issue is that we don't even know if it works on anything stronger than the fog. The fog was a very unique circumstance. If we're ever going to find out whether it works on other aspects, we don't want to expose anyone to it, but if it has to be, it's probably better someone who'd be careful with it under lab conditions rather than pass or fail in the middle of a battle.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Kind of.
Mm.
Yeah,
At least the jar.
The fog was very diffuse. I think it's the word.
Diffuse and circumstantial. We don't know if it was. There's a word. See, this is Froseth not having the best int score, but we don't know if it was misted black stuff or if it was the tainted
Vaporized.
water or out of character. My word would have been particulated, but I don't think anybody but Clarity has the int score for that one. Maybe Barnabas. And then he sort of glances over at Remy and goes, I will say that it's in case it does work on at least slowing down the black shit. Remy, you were worried about Alice, and she doesn't have any. Looks at Remy, and being Froseth, just rummages around in his bag of holding and just hands the jar to Remy. She won't take it from me.
Thank you.
Don't try not to tell her. She'll just give me that look.
If we've
Of
got to
course.
give up any, and we're trying to figure out whose jar we're going to give them, take mine.
No. We're worried about what it will do with someone who's touched by the divine.
Yeah, it does. That's
Right.
the point.
Your spark isn't as intense or
or direct.
innate, or
Innate, that's the word.
But it's still probably not worth the risk. Of course, there's Barnabas going, probably notebook, pencil. Is somebody going to explain this at any point?
Barnabas, you look like you have a million questions.
But before we get into those, because I have a feeling they're going to ask for it straight away, the person I think might be able to reasonably part with it will be Hazel. Her contact with the divine is even less direct and a part of her, and it's more of her shield.
Yeah, I channel it through me, not
So it cleanses rather
out of me.
than
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
well,
That makes
through
sense.
comes out, but
Yeah.
I see what you mean. So, I mean, we might as well take them some of it just so they can see if it's helpful for things other than that fog. And I'm going to have to give them more blood. Yay.
I mean, I'm rummaging into my bag and pulling out my jar. I can be delivery for at least that.
I'll go. I need to see if they're focusing on those rather than, well, us.
Okay.
Actually, I'm thinking, did they already take a sample of Clarity's blood just because of the Fae thing? I don't think they did. I think it was Alice and Barnabas.
I don't think so, no.
No, I don't
Yeah,
think
Barnabas
so either.
especially.
I'll make them wait until you've had some food in you. Then you sort of
Well,
cross.
I wonder if they're gonna want Mo.
And Froseth over his shoulder as he's heading, and Alice is coming back with the coffees. Probably. Alice is just, what? Half cup. Lots of cream, lots of sugar.
Yay!
Drink it slow.
Okay.
I mean, the first
I'm
sip is
slow,
enough
slow.
to just be... But Alice just sort of slugs half hers down. Huh.
I'll relay what we were discussing with Rosa.
Okay, there was a conversation, and there's a jar, and Barnabas has a notebook, and that look of tell me things I am confused. Should I go away to get breakfast, or do I need to
No.
hear this, or...
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about this before, during, or after we eat?
That part is a good point, but we shouldn't dally about too much.
Think sooner the better.
I can be filled in later. I have patience.
Yeah, except if we and I don't know what this is about, but from the sounds of things, it looks like something that might be to do with things we might run into, and if we delay it now, we'll just get into our usual stupid and forget entirely.
Yep.
I would like to
The black
that
honey.
argument, but I cannot.
So, okay, what I'm going to do, because I imagine I've at least heard some of the stories surrounding this, so I can pick up midway, I'm going to split the difference and save us some time, and go see what breakfast involves, and bring a tray here, along with some coffee suitable for normal people.
And those of us who want to not detonate.
Barnabas, sorry, did you want some of the insanity coffee?
Please.
I'll see if I can talk another cup out of them, or another cup out of him behind the bar. I think he might kind of be scared of me. You light up in front of a deep gnome, and it's a thing.
Do you want me to do it?
Nah, it's fine. I need to. I want to remind him that I am not really that scary. I'm just kind of bright.
Fair enough.
And steps off, and there's Barnabas just like, I'm probably doing that blep thing he was talking about.
He has absolutely no
And
idea
low.
he's doing it. None whatsoever. No one's ever told him he does it.
That's
Just
adorable.
a slight smirk. Nothing. I'm not.
Well, he's smirking, she's giggling and saying that's adorable, so Barnabas knows his face is doing something that will probably make him aware that he's doing it.
So did we tell Barnabas nothing about the black goop?
No, you told him about that, but the bit about the fog and the quasi experiments you guys did.
Was I there?
Well,
I wasn't
no,
there.
you were not there for that. This was before Equitas was a gleam in their eye.
This was Star Coast originally.
Yeah, the first time.
No, technically the second time. The first time was pre-fog.
Right.
Second time was during fog.
Right. So
And
to get the timeline straight, this was after we went back to Star Coast. The fog that had emanated from the manor had covered the entire town, and then some out to out of character. I forget how far.
It was town limits. It was the town.
that's
It was the city limits, because Star Coast was a small city by the standards of Remy, Barnabas, but it was still a city.
Yeah, it extended out as far as the city limits, and then
it was stopped by
Petunias. By Petunias from Petunia.
He's probably wondering about Petunia, because no one's explained Petunia to him either.
Petunia.
Mira, yes. Petunia, no.
Yeah, Petunia was Mira's friend and companion, and she was a wizard, if I recall correctly.
They were a sorcerer.
Sorry, they were a sorcerer. Okay, I don't know if Darwin knew that at the time.
He did, but wizards don't work that way.
Right.
Wizards couldn't do the meta magic stuff she was pulling.
That's right.
He's seen enough of the difference now to know.
Gotcha. Okay. They were a sorcerer, and they were they saved my life. I nearly ran through. Anyway, we got there, and Clarity, you out of character. I can't remember who did what at the beginning. How it started, how the experiment started.
Basically, Clarity had been shot in the shoulder by Francine because Francine couldn't believe that anyone survived.
Right.
And it was the crossbow bolt wound getting owied.
Yeah. Okay.
And then it was Froseth messing with his herbalism kit that provided the solution.
So
we can just say that Darwin said that in Darwin-esque ways, because I know this can be difficult, and it was a very long time ago, but this is what happens when you have things that need to get explained.
So yeah, cover everything up to the creation of the solution via Froseth. Looking at Froseth, just he's still talking.
Well, he's currently there's waving notes and gesticulating, and someone's brought out a needle, and Alice is coming back and going, I don't want to know. I know I'm going to find out eventually, but right now I don't want to know. Just like I don't want to know exactly what meat is in these sausages. They smell good, that's fine. Basically, you have sausages, fried tubers of some description is probably the screaming yams again. Mushrooms, and they look kind of like apples, but they're a shade of green so deep it's nearly black.
I'm just marveling at this near black apple. Farms here must be so crazy.
Well, I guess they don't get a lot of natural sunlight, so the plants compensate somehow. I'm not a scientist, and if I asked them to explain, we'd be here all month.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum.
So, anyway, that covers some of the fog and how the salve came about.
Right.
So what did the fog actually do?
Made it feel like spiders were crawling all over you.
That was from what I remember from the stories. Correct me if I'm wrong. That was just regular, but if you got it in your blood, it made you feel ill and weakened you, and it just made everything kind of worse. Which is, I take it that's why Froseth is. By this point, there's a halfling dwarf gnome scuffle over the pot.
Oh boy.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
that's why that's happening, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
And for further, if you were affected by fog and then died, you either got back up as some kind of undead, or you turned into one of the weird drippy things. That's the best way I could describe it. They were made of the black stuff by the end of it.
Yeah.
Mm.
There were. Apologies if this is going to put anybody off their food, but some of the. I mean, I could describe what some of the things looked like if you really want to know right now. But the fog rolled in, and the people went out, and when they came back, they were not people. They were ambulatory, but they weren't people.
What he's neglecting to say is that when he said they went out, they walked into the ocean, according to Froseth.
Oh, that's never good.
And drowned themselves.
And then when they came back, they were either there were people covered in barnacles. There were people with sort of cuts from breastbone down to navel and tentacles coming out. And
basically,
those ones apparently could do magic, and it was a thing. And then there was the tentacle face one that killed. I really need to dance the dance of that kill.
Yeah,
I'll eat breakfast and then I'll show you.
That was the I don't know, the
thing. That's the thing that was wrapped around the heart.
It was semi-bipedal, if I'm told right, but in that ape kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was hunched over, and the knees were bent, and the hands were huge and clawed, and it had wings, and it flew.
And it had the tentacles for a face.
And I mean, it had eyes, but they kind of came down. And,
like the entire rest of from the eyes down, it was just squid.
Ugh.
Well,
and inside that was where the heart.
Barnabas is speaking. Barnabas is speaking.
Oh, it certainly sounds like something you're going to be unable to mistake for anything else.
We're hoping there's not more than one, because Ree did a wonderful job of dispelling it, despite the black circle of cold and tentacle bullshit.
Yeah, I was about to mention that part. The big circle that moved.
I was portal into existence.
I was really mean to them. Out of character. I was really.
It sounds like in the best ways.
Oh no! It was a marvelous combat. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. It was like I loved every minute of it. But Darwin in my head is about the whole time. It's basically screaming. So
it's basically a wonderful prelude to the Kobrea-Val fight, where you all were also. It was wonderful. It was challenging, but your characters hated every minute of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, so it was a delight.
So the black fog will make things get eldritch and sounds like squamous as well.
And what's
that? It's mostly pronounced squamous. Anyway.
I've only ever seen it written.
Heard it spoken by several doctors. Several dozen doctors, in fact.
That's not
As
a good
in-
word
as in-
for you.
Squamous cell carcinoma,
Mm.
normally abbreviated to SCC. I've been typing a lot of this. I work in histology.
Gotcha. So
Medical
yes,
terminology,
that,
hell.
yeah.
Yeah. At which point, Alice is like, "Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Breakfast can wait." And does sort of find herself a clear patch of floor. Nice. And yes, does put to dance, and somewhat humming the combat in question, up to and including Flitty saving Darwin's life by making him look like one of the dead people,
Oh yeah, I remember
but finishing up with Remy's basically finishing off the combat by disemboweling the thing and triumphantly prodding the heart, as tainted as it was, out of the wreckage. And she finishes it up quite gracefully and then goes, apparently Darwin's response to Remy's trying to find the heart of Star Coast was, why are we spelunking in the body?
Oh.
But yeah, and she's actually getting applause from the scientists who did actually stop. So it was a natural 18 with the various bonuses. It was impressive enough. And she finishes up her coffee. And she did get Barnabas a mug of the insanity coffee.
Which disappears really quickly.
that.
Yes. But yeah, that's kind of how I tell things. I mean, I can use words, obviously, but 5 years with the people, you mostly learn
Mm-hmm.
other ways.
Well, it's incredibly effective and impressive.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to do the dragon kill I did for the the people that we ran into in the desert after my resurrection. Seriously, the day I get brought back from the dead and I'm having to dance a red dragon kill. A solo red dragon kill, if you please. At which point, like, 3 of the scientists are like, what? Fuck.
Oh no.
I need a volume control.
Darwin's just looking at look. If the scientists are looking, like, I know they're mostly looking at Alice, but they can. If he's in eye line as well, he's just looking at them, going,
Oh no.
just like, yes, it actually happened.
Do I remember mentioning you mentioning the fog was gone now? Was it still there?
Yeah. The fog is gone.
To be fair, you saw a denatured version of the fog. The fog was partially explained to you, not to the depth that it now has been, but they reassured you that while it was foggy, it wasn't going
Oh,
to.
right. The fog's still there, but it's not.
Well, no, the fog was there until you rekindled the heart. Now the fog's gone.
Right.
So you saw the fog's final.
Right.
The last
And-
hurrah.
Well,
Just
up
to be
until
clear.
the. Sorry.
Just to be clear, the salve you guys are talking about is the remedy for it, basically.
Well,
Preventative.
it keeps it keeps it from penetrating your skin, like
Well,
like
more
that spider feeling doesn't go. It just isn't there.
Actually, sorry, Lindira, wrong idea. Because the spider thing, it was just an effect that happened. Whatever happened, that was just it trying to find purchase. What the salve did, what Furseth found it out for you, was that if you put it on a wound in time, because remember you guys only had 3 rounds to get it on you, it would stop it from penetrating into your blood and changing you. So it's a limited, for clarity in the intelligent, it's a It's been a very long time, I understand.
Yeah, it's been like
it's
3 or 4 years.
closer to 3. It's not that bad. But it's a very limited curative for the fog, and why they're fighting over the jar is because they want to test it to see what it is, what it does, and possibly if they ever encounter the full-on version. And I'm just going to say, this is what Clarity is explaining, because Clarity is the one with the highest score who was there for it all. And this is faster.
The just in terms of the black stuff too, there was it itself could change you, but then they were also doing other things, growing things. It was that
It was on the walls, wasn't it?
yeah. They were growing on the walls. There was, I guess, pods. I guess is what they were.
Full of more of the barnacle people. Basically, anyone that fell over and got back up. Yeah, basically anyone who got killed and got back up as a normal zombie instead of walking out and drowning themselves, eventually got stuffed into one of those and came back out as a barnacle person.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Or, I mean, could it maybe have been that even if the regular zombies got exposed to enough of the shit on the walls, they turned into the barnacle things and then came out as barnacle zombies or tentacle bitches?
Yeah, there was a whole big...
Probably that too, yeah.
Weren't there ones with, like, slashy arms?
That was that was a different kind of barnacle zombie.
Right.
Darwin was saying that the barnacles could either wind up sharp-edged like a sword or big clumpy like a club. So
yeah,
and then there were the tentacle bitches.
Yeah,
which started throwing magic and what I'm pretty sure was acid.
Yeah, okay. I do know about the acid. Keep in mind, Hazel will know this as soon as Alice mentions it. Keep in mind, the regular zombies can spit that.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I had that explained to me because apparently that is how Lyra lost her eyes.
Oh.
She was fighting one
I
in the
think
southern lands. Yeah.
That was mentioned or something.
Apparently pinned it, trying to see if she could reach any of the human left in it, and it spat acid at her, and because of the height differential, right in her eyes.
Ooh. Yeah, I think I remember hearing something like that.
So, yeah, she does glance at the jar that Frosis left there. It's like, we're not leaving that out, are we? Because if they know there's a second jar of that going, they're gonna wanna
probably want to put that away.
But then Remy will put it very carefully in her bag.
Keep in mind that was one Frosis gave Remy for Alice. Just saying. She'll deal with that later. It's a Remy thing. I figured. Yeah. Frosis does finally sort of get back looking a little like that was people. That was a lot of talking. Just like, sits down. Alice just nudges a plate of breakfast towards him.
Darwin will slide a cup of coffee. Well, wait, the tray's got the coffee on it. Never mind.
Well, no, she put a plate, but she did also. Frosis tends more on the tea line, so she arranged for some of that as well.
That's true.
She arranged for some of that as well. Alice is thoughtful that way. So if you want to slide, if you want to slide tea in that direction, was what I was trying to say.
Okay. Just because, yeah, I've seen him have that look a few times when he did the talking a lot more than he's used to, and I was like, oh, sorry, dude.
It does finally turn around to Clarity. Goes, they would very much like a blood sample.
Maybe they shovel more potatoes into my screaming tubers in my mouth.
Save some. You're going to want to replenish afterwards. This is the second time I've had to give blood to these people.
All right, and I mosey on over.
Currently, the trio over there is still bickering over who gets the jar. It's like, I'm the one who is most interested in botany. Yes, but you know how to grow them. You don't know exactly what goes into the. You know how to grow the things that I use to actually make components. Yes, but you don't focus on what the actual finished product does to various bits of living. Kaiser is still under a book, asleep under all this. You guys aren't hearing this. It's just Clarity getting and Jahavarian, who's staying out of this because clearly that whole situation is not in his remit, is going, I do apologize for this, young lady. Simply that there's at least two of them are going to want samples to work with. And maybe it will stop them from fighting. They've been on this coffee since you all left last night.
Oh, God.
And this is going to last for a while.
Should maybe cut it with have some water, some food.
They've had food. They've needed that to fuel the energy the coffee is giving them.
I see.
This is what we tend to call a research binge now.
Right.
So if actually
I had one of those actually. Well, more than one. Here.
Yeah, and he does wind up filling 2 vials, so it's a little. I want some juice, and do they have like sweet rolls or something? Because I do apologize, Miss. I'd put your breakfast on my tab, but it seems that the national government is paying for your stay, so that hardly seems necessary. We will, of course, share any findings with you when you pass through this way. We do need further conversations anyhow, and yes, your Dragonborn friend did try to refocus our research, and that's going about as well as you'd expect. I am doing the appropriate reading, and so will Kaisro when she's done with her nap. She is actually the sensible one of us. She just does not people well. I don't think any of us really do.
I know the feeling.
Honestly, you're far more personable than most of us. We focus on the science. You at least try to be sweet and nice to people. We just prod until we get what we want. Like an academic version of your armor-clad friend over there. In any case, you should go sit down. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Try not to use the research too much as a bludgeoning weapon.
Does it count against them? They kind of need that.
All right.
Meanwhile, he sort of hears Clarity hears as she's turning and walking away. This way, hey! If you can't stop fighting over it, none of you gets it. Now play Boulder Parchment Shears or something like civilized people. Boulder Parchment Shears doesn't work between 3. Then have a tournament. Oh.
Oh boy.
Oh no!
And that's as Clarity sits back down, sort of. Poof. That go okay?
Ow.
Yeah, maybe Egref or Kobrea-Val technology or whatever will maybe one day give them smaller needles.
It was a big needle.
Mm.
It's unnecessary.
Do you want a little healing?
No, I'm fine.
Food. I remember them doing this to me. Food.
More fuel.
Well, you need to put back what they took out.
Mm-hmm.
So, purple worm hunting.
Yes.
Worms.
That's actually got some enthusiasm. Are you really looking forward to killing shit, Ray?
No, I'm looking forward to getting moving and out, and she looks back to the scientist table.
You just don't want to deal with that anymore, do you?
Mm-mm.
I was just gonna say you'd fit in really well in one of the people's hunting bands. I'm just saying. Go out and meet the challenges, no matter how big and toothy they happen to be.
One of these days, hopefully.
What do you mean, one of these days? One of these days is today.
No.
It's just not in the frozen wastes.
Yes, yeah.
I
Trust me,
think
this
there
is
was a
probably
whole
better
other...
for you. Train of thought
think there was
going on there? Really?
Yeah. I think it was more directly related to you than you think.
I don't live there anymore. They told me to seek the sun, and now I'm several dozen, if not 100 miles underground. Probably as far from the sun as I could possibly get. Okay!
Well, yeah, but it was a important part of you. So it makes sense that Remy'd want to see it too.
Oh, okay. You weren't going where I thought you were going. Well, we're going someday anyway. If for no other reason we have to cut through to get to the Silver Vault, and Clarity would give me that look if I never made sure we went. And it can be really hard to get there if you're not, a scholar who's paid handsomely for the privilege to get escorted through the places that can't be traversed by airship, or you happen to know the people. I just admit I'm a little bit afraid of taking some of you through to deal with the people. Yes. Yes. Temple, eye, ear. You missed the temple. You missed the think.
Right. Why am I not surprised?
Pat.
I'm trying. I'll get it.
Practice daily. I'm just saying. Some of you will get more of a pass than others, admittedly. Myrika. But that just means that anything you guys fuck up bounces back on me. Just so you know.
Noted.
Not that it'll be anything particularly bad. They save that for people who have really badly fucked up, and I'm pretty sure neither of you will. Okay, Ava probably won't. I don't know about Ree. It depends on the day, the tribe, and the situation. Just if it starts looking, just don't hit anybody.
I'll be careful.
No, I don't want you to be careful. I just don't want you to hit anybody.
I will not do that.
Good. I mean, with anything, sword, fist, other person, I don't care. Just don't hit anybody.
I get it.
That goes for everybody. You don't in interband squabbles. You don't hit, and you don't yell.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay.
You guys probably won't
I
be able
remember
to
you mentioning it being a dance competition.
Dance insult off. It's kind of like cutting words without the oomph, or vicious mockery without the oomph. So it's not verbal. So I don't think you guys are going to be able to argue with anybody.
Oh, we are not.
I wonder if I can.
What?
That is going to be an interesting day.
Yeah, she's looking at Darvin.
Oh no, I'm just wondering if I can. I've been silenced before. I'm wondering if I can do it on myself, just in case, preemptively.
It's called self-control. Learn you some.
I'm trying, but
The thing is that sorry, I don't know from Podunk. Did any of you guys ever build a snow person?
Yep.
I probably did, I guess.
think so, yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Rarely.
Darvin when he was younger,
Yeah,
once or
rarely,
twice, but
yeah.
he was mostly on the coast. It was when he was visiting Cedar Grove, so he probably built one with Ava when he was small.
Oh,
She probably taught him how, because coastal, not much snow.
Hmm.
You see, what they do if you show a lack of self-control is they build one around you.
Oh,
Oh.
They leave you an air
You will
hole
become.
and eye holes, but they also stick a little carrot nose,
okay.
and they leave you there. And how long they leave you there depends on what the infraction was and how bad it was. I've seen people spend the entirety of the day.
Just stuck in a. Wow.
Do they like charm the snow so it doesn't break?
Well, they pack it hard enough so it doesn't break. Keep in mind that if you pack it hard enough and then you coat the outside with water, it'll freeze.
Mm,
You don't need magic for that kind of thing.
that's true.
The people don't go in for it very much.
Uh-huh.
Out of character, I pretty
speaking
much
of-
did exactly that once with a snowdrift when I was little.
Speaking of magic, how do they react if we use it? Like if
Well, they know it exists,
yeah,
and
like,
any advantage in combat, but showing off with it is considered. It's reserved for. Looks at Darvin. Showing off, it's reserved for, quite frankly, us.
okay.
And even then, it's considered. What you can't entertain and shock people with just your body. What
Mhm.
it
You need that crutch, yeah.
So they tolerate it, but not.
Yeah,
Then
that's the thing. As they're not for or against it.
Mhm.
When it's useful, yeah, okay. But when it's not necessary, it's seen as show off.
Mhm.
Gauche.
And why, for entertainment purposes, why are you doing that? When is it because they take it immediately to mean that you do not have the body control
Mhm.
to entertain,
Mm.
and your value as an entertainer is seen as less. So, particularly using it in in an argument, quote unquote, would be seen as you cheating. So even you silencing yourself would be seen as cheating. You have no self-control. You can't do that. Then clearly the other person is won by default because they didn't have to resort to that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Silent image, same thing. And anyone stepping in to help someone else by whatever means, also considered nuh-uh.
Okay.
That immediately loses the argument because the person doing the arguing couldn't prove their own strength.
Mhm.
Same thing goes for fun tests of skill kind of thing. You do it on your own. That's what you do. Why do you think I am the way I am?
Mhm.
I mean, okay, part of it was running the streets rather than taking criminal money, but that just meant I fit in really well when I got to a place where you stand on your own merits. Obviously, someone will help you if you really need it. If you're sick, if you're hurt, but if you've stepped up to a challenge,
You're on your own.
you should be.
Mhm.
Mm.
Fair enough.
So they don't. This is just curiosity. They don't. Do they allow for team competition, as it were? I'm just curious.
That's what hunts are for.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
And that's not hunter versus hunter. That's hunter versus environment. I'm
Like, who brings
basically
the best
out of
kill back?
Well, it's not even that. It's not. They're not against each other. They're against the environment itself. Could you go out? Could you come back? Could you do the thing? It's the challenge, not whether you're better than somebody else. Not when it's something that benefits the entire group. Basically, I'm differentiating between PvP and PvE here, guys.
Okay.
The only time you ever stand against your hunting pack is in things where it doesn't matter, really. I mean, an argument matters to a point, but it's not necessarily life or death. It's, I feel you did me wrong. I think my idea is better. And then it's, can you get that point across and can you convince other people? If you're doing the whole reason that the feats of strength and skill and things, against quote unquote your hunting pack is for those to judge those skills that Ava's talking about. How well you can shoot a bow, how well you can sling a spear, throw a rock. Sometimes people will do informal things like who can do the fastest at skinning something small, or there are certain bits of judgment about who's done who's made the best tunic or whatever. But for the most part, it's just the only reason they do test of skills is to show off their own strength and to hone their skills. Sometimes the best way of doing that's not immediately going to kill you if you get it wrong, is to hone it by competing against somebody who's been doing it longer than you. You got something to measure up to.
Or at least measure against.
Well, how far you can come and where your strengths and weaknesses are. I see what they can do. I see why I can't do it that way. How can I compensate? Again, we watch how we move. So, yeah. I'm giving you guys a significant crash course in up north, and we're nowhere near getting there yet.
Yeah.
Are you guys trying to make me homesick?
Sorry.
No, I'm teasing you.
That was straight man. Sorry.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not really sure where home is. I like it there, but I don't. The Irdeja were right. I wasn't meant to stay there. It taught me a lot of things I really needed to know. But what?
Not to point out the obvious, but home is where Remy is.
I had sort of thought of something like that, yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't mean to be all spoopy right now, I'm sorry, but it's kind of the case.
Well, let's take the pressure off Ree and say home is where you guys are.
Everyone.
Okay, fair. Sorry.
Okay.
Remy
Glances over at Remy, just kind of sheepish. Kind of glances over at Remy, kind of sheepish. Like, sorry.
Yeah, except when you do that, you've got Remy already putting an arm around Alice and Alice giving a scritch at the short hair at the back of her head.
Darwin's over here quietly just
I tell you to take a silent image. It lasts longer. But Ree, you never showed them, did you?
No. Now she's no, I didn't.
Oh, come on!
And then she takes it out.
It's a little stainless steel disc that she opens up, and there's this silent image of Remy standing, so looking up a little bit at Alice with that bright face lightening smile on her face, and Alice looking a little bit more towards the camera, and just both of them leaning up against each other and smiling.
That is adorable.
That's the thing that was in her parents' locket, but I thought she should have that to carry with her.
What's a very good idea.
I love you too.
Right, let's shovel some breakfast in us and get going before they decide to corner us anymore. Because the gnome is looking, and I have a horrible feeling that gleam in their eye is a potential study of Demille courting rituals, and I want to get out of here before he gets ideas.
Yeah.
Good point.
And on that note, part of the reason I'm winding it up there is because it is about break time. So when we come back in 5 minutes, I'll think of something, frankly.
Well, I know one thing that might stall.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Yep.
And we're back. I think Ava had a thing before they headed off in the general direction of out somewhere.
Yeah, I just want to grab Alice real quick.
Okay. Probably while she's downing last bit of regular coffee and sort of nudging Remy in the direction of go herd geese. I'll be a minute.
Out of character, do I remember? Does Ava know about Hazel's money thing with Alice or not? I think so.
I don't think so. No.
No. Well, we'll assume not. Yeah. I figured you probably. I'll pull out a little bag from my stuff. Figured you probably didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but.
You can keep it for now. I mean, it's better to settle up when there's all of it, because I do know that you've had to spend things. I still have money. It's okay. Believe me. This is the least of it, and we're about to go figure out exactly how much money we have. So it's better to just handle it all at once. Besides, it's not like I'm going to be spending anything. I'm going to be down a tunnel.
True.
Besides, if something absolutely horrible happens to me, it's less to pillage off my bits. Pat.
Happen.
I don't think it's always a question of let, but you know.
Well, we're certainly going to do our damnedest.
It was supposed to be trench humor, but clearly that is still a. How can this be so much of a sticking point for you? I mean, you saw me dead, but you didn't know me before the resurrection.
I've already lost a lot of people. I don't want to lose anyone else.
I get it. I do get it, and I guess. I mean, yeah, you've lost a lot of them to death, but betrayal is probably worse. Really thinking about it. I mean, you trusted her. I can get where that might be a thing, and I'm a part of me is I know that I can see it because I see a lot in how people stand and how they move, and I try my damnedest not to betray that trust. I know you don't give it lightly, and there's gifts you don't cheapen that way. So, which is why I'm saying, I trust you to when you're okay. When you're okay and comfortable on the money end, to deal with it then. It's a thing up north. You have to make sure that you're safe and fed before you can help someone else. Something about it serves no one to grind yourself to dust on the altar of compassion.
I suppose that's true.
It's fine. I trust you not to forget. You can trust me to remind you. Probably in a kind of haha only serious jabby kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, let's go. And off y'all go, unless there's anything else anyone wants to do.
I walk up to Remy and say, "Hey, Remy, would you like a little boost for the coming combat? Just sort of, just a quicker reaction sort of time."
Sure.
So I cast Gift of Alacrity on her.
You don't know how long it's going to be before the fight starts.
Well, it's an 8-hour thing, so I figure it's a...
You don't even know if it's going to be today. You have traveling. You didn't ask about... I mean, you cast it, okay, but...
Yep.
I
just want to be prepared.
I mean, you never know.
I understand that. It's just that when LSA comes out, she's like, okay, we have a fair bit of mining cart travel to go before we get to Bitey territory, according to people.
That's all right. I have a few first level spells. It's okay.
Yeah, because LSA wasn't there for that, so it's like, what?
Oh,
get moving then.
It's all right. Fine.
Okay. Good, fine. And onward into, again, it's smaller mining carts, less space for people, but there's still enough spaces, particularly there's a long row of bench at the back that's clearly for the larger individual, which is where Barnabas and Furseth end up. Sort of, you can Barnabas can tell Furseth is so used to this by now. It's just, the neck goes nope. And the tail coils neatly around his feet, and just he takes up as little space as possible. But he is more wiry, and Barnabas is a wall.
Big floof.
Beefy would be allowed, I think.
but also big floof, and also horns, which he still has to kind of to make sure they're not going to be scraping against the metal ceiling.
Unfortunately, he's not nearly as retractable as Froseth.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Monk, he bends. He bends, he squishes, he flows like water.
Like a reed in the wind.
Gelatinous monks.
Sounds like a band name.
There probably is a band in Egref. Anyway, yes, the thing is, you are also sharing your space with a whole lot of deep gnomes. Like, all the deep gnomes. It's basically any seat that is not occupied by you guys, and you guys kind of have to squish, is deep gnomes. Because you guys can't stand up. Some of them are standing in the aisles, but you guys can't stand up. It's think trains at rush hour. It's not
Trains at rush hour, except the ceiling is
Yeah, but it's also you. Most of the people around you are like 3 feet tall, and you're trying desperately not to crush them. Particularly the larger ones of you, which is why, yeah, and Alice is like, Darvin, for fuck's sake, put your elbows in, like this. Just, and she demonstrates just by hugging your elbows with the hands. Yeah, there you go. Take up less space that way. And Remy is actually moderately comfortable, apart from like the crowding, but just about everybody else is. And there's chattering in a language I don't think any of you know, but Darvin understands because he has the Helm of Comprehend Languages. Do any of you know Undercommon?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Clarity, but then I thought, no, I don't think so. So
And
yeah,
Darvin's just not saying much of anything, just listening.
it's. I mean, some of them are talking about the shift they've got, and yeah. Thank the gods I'm not in purple worm territory. Did you hear they call it bitey? Natural philosophers are weird. And there are certain looks at them, which and they're taking bets on how you guys fight. It's like that one, that was clearly a bard. He's carrying an instrument, and he's got that look on his face that says, I'm listening, but I'm trying not to look like I'm listening, and also pay attention to me. And I'm so going to write a song about this later. And he's getting some looks as he says that. Yeah.
Darvin's just trying not to, but unconsciously kind of tight nod. Just,
They peg Hazel as a cleric pretty much straight away, and it's like, there's a sun cleric down here. She must be squirming.
And given the opportunity, if there needs to be more space in our immediate area, I'm just going to pull Clarity into my lap.
Isn't she taller than you?
So?
Or are they the same height?
Doesn't matter about the how tall. It matters about how heavy. And Hazel's strength is way up there.
Remember, I have pitched you.
Yeah.
Like the falling ball.
That is
Yes.
true.
On that subject, you do. Alice does look at this, and Alice looks at Remy and is like, "Would that be offensive to your dignity?"
I suppose not.
Grab yoink. I just armed around her waist, just almost like a seatbelt. Deep gnomes give grateful looks to the you guys as they fill in like 2 seats to every one of you because they're small. And they're debating about they're saying, half of them are going, she must be a paladin, look at that armor. And they're like, I don't know, where's her sword? The only people I've ever seen that don't carry swords, or they have deals where their swords come out of nowhere, and it's like, what? Don't be ridiculous. I mean, look at that armor. That armor has like, and they're going on like that. Nobody's ever going to reach a consensus. They can't figure out shit about Clarity, although they know that she must at least be able to do some stabination. But look at her reading a book in somebody's lap. That's his wizard. Ava, they basically peg as ranger right away, but they're trying to decide whether she's been trained for the Underdark or not. And the general consensus is no, because she looks a little bit too ill at ease. They all look at Froseth in his gi and they just go in unison, monk.
I mean,
they can't figure out shit about Alice. It's like, they look at the scimitars and they're going, fighter? I've known some barbarians who do that. I've known some rogues who do that, but they haven't touched Bard yet. She hasn't said anything at this point beyond...
Well, plus she doesn't have an instrument on it, does she?
Nope. Well, not that they can see anyway. Anyway,
No.
I think she tucks her guitar in Frosa's bag of holding. Because she does have a guitar, she just doesn't bring it out because she fights and entertains in a very different way.
Mm.
And then there's Barnabas probably getting all kinds of weird looks.
To be fair, fewer than you'd think. They're used to weird shit down here. And mostly they're just looking at him like, definitely not a paladin. So basically just straight up mercenary. Yeah, but you can have mercenaries who do other things. Yeah, but he looks like he hits things. Yeah, but what about the little glasses? Yeah, maybe his eyesight's not too good for reading, and he has to read sometimes. Fighters do read sometimes. They're not all stupid. That's barbarians. Come on, not all barbarians are stupid.
Oh my god.
And
And
now,
Darvin's the only one who understands all of this.
he's
Great.
the only one who understands any of this. Alisea just kind of leans her chin on Remy's shoulder. Going, isn't it great to be the center of attention?
Wait, what?
And then she sees the glances and the mutter. That. And this ride goes on for a while. I mean, it stops and starts in a few places. People get off, people get on. At some point, Furseth and Barnabas kind of have to shift over when rather large half-orc kind of stomps in, looks at the rest of the seats, and kind of scrunches over to the back, because he's around about the 6-foot mark. He's not quite as tall as you guys, but he's still pretty big, and there's a punk. Looks at you guys and just sort of goes, they all doing the undercommon thing.
That they are. I think. I have no idea what to say.
Well, yes, but the language they're speaking is undercommon. It's their native language. We cannot really hold it against them, but you would think, he says, they would understand how rude it is to be talking about people and they cannot understand you, except for that one in the hat. And the deep gnomes are just like... And one of them goes, we'd say we're sorry, but we do try to be relatively honest. It's our native language, and you were interesting. The ride continues in silence for a while. Until they...
some kind of foreman.
Until they start like breaking out lunch pails. You guys have gone to you guys have gone for a few hours doing this, and Alisea does actually rummage in her haversack and pulls out. I had them make sandwiches.
Praise the sun
You are
for food.
amazing.
Well, nobody asked me what we were doing or how we were getting anywhere, so I figured I'd just make preparations and go from there. And you do the usual thing, You guys don't ask, you guys charge in, I cover your asses.
Sorry.
That's fine. At least I'm useful. Just handing out sandwiches. And people have got favorites, and Barnabas has... big sandwich.
I have produced the jug of the endless water jug and have just Basically using any spare water containers I've got to just hand out that.
Or we could just pass the jug around, Basil.
And that too. Yeah, basically depending on what I just offer it to somebody, and if they react and in wanting some kind of a container, I get that. But if not, I just hand them the jug.
And but probably, given that you guys are adventurers and you're used to traveling around, it's just swig, hand, swig, hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for those of you who are not great on spicy food, unfortunately, the sandwiches are a little bit spicy.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I guess Ava's probably getting used to it by this point.
After being subjected to us.
But, Clarity and Hazel in particular are probably happy enough with that. The journey continues. And eventually, a couple of hours after your impromptu picnic, and a few deep gnomes did actually turn around and ask, what is in the sandwiches? I can smell the spicy. Alice trying to explain the various bits that she asked them to add. You finally get to Alice going, okay, we're about at our stop, and just taking Remy by the waist and you poop. Armor and all, because, there are perks to being a barbarian.
Remy looks very impressed.
And you get out at what's just like, it's almost a station. It's a platform, and there's one of those vendy boxes that you had at the first one, and a couple of benches, and some people, piling on around you. There's a swarm of deep gnomes and checking off. Okay, we've got a bit of a hike from here. So I don't know if we wanted to pick up further food at the. It's not quite an inn. They don't serve alcohol. It's more a place where the miners stop and grab food between shifts. So I don't know exactly what they serve, but I imagine it'll be quick to eat and there'll be a lot of it.
That's probably not a bad idea.
And I wonder how much of that would, if any of that could act as distraction or bait for anything else that might decide to turn up if Purple Worm thing turns anyway sideways.
I don't think we want to attract the attention of anything else down here. Over dinner, I may have to explain to you the exact circumstances under which I lost my first brass arrows hunting band attempt.
That would be best, yeah, so we don't do the same thing.
Exactly. Particularly you. And there's what appears to be an office, so it's probably a foreman's office, and a couple of bits where they clearly keep tools, and carved out of the rock there is probably a largish space that once you open the door is rows upon rows of trestle tables with benches, and at the back of the room there's basically a couple of different stew pots, more of those screaming yams baked, big tray of mushrooms, big tray of sausage, and big jug that clearly contains water, and it seems like you pull a little lever and fill your glass from there. And similar with tea and coffee. It's basically the biggest workman's cafeteria. And you just go in and you serve yourself. They're getting some looks from a human who does appear to be the foreman, but he seems to take you all in, look at your various descriptions, looks at a bit of paperwork on the table next to him, and then just goes, and nods you all through. He's clearly not interested in talking. He just wondering, who are these people? Oh, it's those people. Yes, you can come in here. And I'm assuming food happens.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've sat down, she explains, okay, one of the things you might find down here, I think I explained about cloakers.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned him, yeah.
A few things you need to know about cloakers. Like I was saying yesterday, they really are like that smothering rug, except with teeth and heads, and they fly, and they can make this noise that that fear reaction thing that some things can do just by you looking at them. That noise they make brings that on, or can. And that's what happened to my squad, and if I'd known I could see in the dark, it might not have happened. Because we were down, they picked something way, way too much for us. They were sending us after a Bahir. Those big lightning spitting things that we're going for on the way back, the 8 of us, they're like 5 of us, and we didn't have the same training as we lot do. So I don't know what the group was thinking, but everybody was confident. And unfortunately, the self-appointed leader of our band was not sensible enough to carry healing potions, or not many anyway, because what do we need healing potions for? We have a cleric.
Oh no.
And let me guess, the cleric was unable to the cleric thing.
Do you want to do this, or do we want the bard to do it? Sorry, this is kind of sensitive for me.
Sorry.
Because, as I didn't know at the time, but because I can see in the dark, I saw things that the others couldn't. I saw the shadows moving unnaturally, and I was sure, and I'm now very sure I'm right, I saw eyes. But they kept telling me, are they all so jumpy up north? I'll say, it's just shadows, get a grip.
Oh.
So we went to bed and we set a watch, but it was only one person. Our cleric had the watch when the screaming started. I was a little bit slower getting out because the Goliath who was with us climbed over me and knee to the solar plexus, so I was a little late coming out. When I came out, the first thing I saw was cleric down with one of those shadows I'd been seeing on his back, and there he is in a pool of what, I couldn't see color, but I was assuming that was blood, and 2 more harassing the rest of the party. So I was still hiding the things I could do for the most part, but I thought maybe this is a sign that I need to stop. So I rushed to the healer. I didn't even bother with the axe because I knew that if I tried to hit this thing with my axe, I was just going to hit him too. So that's another thing you have to be careful of. If those things get on you, any damage that you do to the cloaker, at least some of that is going to get through to you. In any case, I got on both of them and thankfully managed to snap the thing's neck. So I turned him around and I was going to go to heal him. I didn't know I could touch anywhere, but it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. He'd bled out by then. And that was our cleric. That was, apart from me, our only source of healing. And a 4th cloaker was headed right for me when I turned around. And I had read about these things. I remembered one thing. That was part of why I was trying to save the cleric, for the healing and for the light. They don't like light. They can't see well in it. They don't attack well in it. So I thought to myself, well, you don't like light? Let him hate me. And blew out the wings and smashed this thing's head in with a lead mace. And after that, there were the other 2 to deal with, but the rest of the band, I don't know if it was because the howl had put them all into fear freak out, and I don't think my turning up with unexpected wings helped. But between the cloakers flailing and them shrinking back from everything, I couldn't get hands on them. And the one thing I couldn't do then was heal without touching. I barely got out alive. By the end of it, I had one last swing before I fell unconscious. And when I went down, I didn't know whether I'd be getting back up again. I came to a few hours later, with, clearly having bled as much as I was going to and not dead, with the cloaker I'd hit's head in my lap. But nobody else survived. So I buried them as best I could, collected everything the cloakers hadn't spoiled, and got out. But, I went back to the Brass Arrow HQ, and it didn't matter that the whole reason that we failed so hard was because our supposed leader was an idiot. We hadn't succeeded in the hunt. That was it. So basically, be careful. Watch the shadows, particularly those of you who can actually see in the dark. And if something comes from above, in fact, just anything here in underground, bring light.
With my rapier, this will bring light if we need it.
And a few of us can cast it. I have 2 sets of wings that do the job.
I don't have any continual sources, just the cloud of flitties.
Yeah, but those also attack things, so...
Yeah, so it'll get the job done.
And Froseth is like, well, it's probably better than trying to have any of us go into battle with a torch. That's the only problem I can see. That, at least we have other sources, because I don't know if the drift globe would be enough. It's not a very strong source of light. It's enough to see by, but not enough to drive back. Something like that, but Remy can cast light. Alice found out she can do that. There's the continual flitties. I don't know if your purple
Fairy fire.
yes, I don't know if that's enough light
No,
to
it's not. It's not.
But at least it lets us hit them better.
Exactly.
if there's not enough light around.
Exactly.
Is the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about I was about to say that. I'm not sure. The times I've used the aura were kind of in the heat of things, and we were actually outside, so I don't know if it does anything like that. But
I don't think so. I mean, admittedly, I was kind of on fire at the time, but that only felt like enough light for being on fire.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember the Nothic. It wasn't enough to actually light the place up. It just made it.
No.
Glow.
That was the fairy fire.
He's talking about the aura of light. We'd already decided the fairy fire wasn't.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. If we run out of sources of light, I think is what First was trying to say. The best way to sometimes the best defense is a good offense. If we can't give light anymore and make it harder for them to hit us, we can at least make it easier for us to hit them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, what I'd recommend is those of us who can cast any kind of light, glowy thing that would put them off, do it. And when/if we run out of that, save fairy fire as a contingency.
Gotcha.
Sound plan. Very sound.
And at the very least, we'll just be finishing them off by then, hopefully.
From the sound of that, sounds like watches should be 2 people at a go, yeah?
Well, we have enough people for that. Remember, a 5-man group is a little difficult to do that kind of thing with.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, the entire thing was made of stupid. I picked a bad group.
You did the best you could.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm ever going to think it's enough, but I guess at least I didn't die down there too. That's something.
Yeah. And you brought back enough knowledge to keep.
Oh, I got that from the Silver Vault right from the start. Remember, I'd been planning to come down here after my coming of age thing with the Erdasia. I called in my extra access to the Silver Vault. That's the thing, Clarity. I think I mentioned you have to do something pretty impressive to gain access to various of the wings. I mean, everybody gets access to the antechamber, but beyond that, you've got to do something pretty special. My hunting band had guided a wizard on some trip to some ancient temple or something for some research. I don't know, but we all got, as our repayment, access to a wing of our choosing at the Silver Vault. It's non-transferable, by the way. Sorry. I picked sort of, I guess you could kind of call it an adventurer's wing. It gives information about the various things you might encounter in various places. And obviously, I didn't have time to read everything, but I'd had sun and waste suggested to me, so I started with the desert things and went to cave things, because if we were going to be hunting things, it might be underground too. And a lot of that seems to transcend the usual habitat barriers. If it's underground, it's underground. It doesn't matter if it's under sand or deciduous forest or whatever. So I did my reading beforehand, and they still wouldn't listen to me.
That's the part that I'm just. There's so many stories where that happens, and people still do it, and I just.
They're arrogant little shits. They don't deserve to die, but they're arrogant little shits. So, yeah, don't get eaten by cloakers. I don't think I could take it. And, I mean, you already know about those things that look like stalagmites or stalactites or whatever, and there were smaller versions of those that can drop on you and then are kind of like leeches.
Ooh.
Those things are jerks.
Yeah, worst part is they can squirm into like armor joins and collars and things, and
Keep
they're
them away from Remy.
Collar.
yeah, they're small and they're leechy and they're painful, and
Ew.
yeah, no. I mean, there's so much bullshit down here, but be nice to the flumps.
We will.
Flumps? What?
Think round pillows with like tentacles and eyes on stalks, and they're really friendly.
Really?
Oh,
Huh.
Yeah,
and they live down here. They're probably a part of the food chain that I honestly, I don't understand how. You'd have to ask a scientist how they go. But yeah, it's round pillow, mouth in there somewhere, eye stalks. But they're nice. They speak telepathically. They're kind of weird.
I'm still chuckling over the
Yeah.
idea that something with tentacles is actually nice. We haven't really had a good experience with things with tentacles for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
I
sure
mean,
there's got to be some out there. Yes, it just I wasn't expecting to be in a position to find some potentially. Okay.
I mean, it might be a bit of being a mammalian chauvinist, but yeah, I also had it. It's got tentacles. It's not going to be friendly. Weird. That's why I was surprised.
Well, I mean, yeah. I guess a lot of it depends on nature versus nurture in some cases. I mean, I could imagine that some people might domesticate displacer beasts.
Hmm.
That's fair and
I
adorable
wow.
and disturbing and adorable.
That would be a very confusing cat.
Yeah, but all cats are kind of confusing
True.
in and of themselves.
Oh, I'm just trying to figure out where to put the bowl. Wait, where's your head? Oh, there. Right. Split the difference. There you go. Figure it out.
Well, I mean, come on. To be fair, that's kind of what you do with cats anyway. You put down a bowl somewhere, and then
they figure it out.
Yeah. Also, yeah, should probably give a kind of warning about the other kinds of things you will tend to find underground.
Mm-hmm.
Oozes like to live down here.
So if we're walking down a pathway and
It's too
suddenly
cle-
something in
it's
front of us feels squishy,
run, or at least step back.
just immediately reverse course.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
the squish in front is
if the path seems too clean, back up. That will mean we have another gelatinous cube.
Oh no.
We really don't want to deal with those again.
Oh no, we don't.
you also don't want to deal with any Umber Hulks that may or may not also be wandering around.
Mhm.
We're pretty sure they're also down here.
Also, watch out for rust monsters.
The heck is a rust monster?
Ooh.
I
It's
guess they make things rough.
Oh, yeah. I
They-
heard a story about one of those.
they eat metals with iron in them.
Yeah, there's a story about a guy. He wasn't a knight, but he was very confident in the quality of his equipment, and was braggart, and he came across one of those, and yeah, that's a classic comeuppance.
Well, it was clearly very high quality armor. Gourmet
Oh, it was.
shit.
Yes, it was very much so.
I am hugging my
I think
my handmade breastplate.
The only people who are going to have to worry, Barnabas, because his armor isn't magical.
Mm-hmm.
Darvin, I don't think your shield is magical.
No, it's not.
But Clarity, all your blades are magical?
Yes.
Hazel, your breastplate, and I know my axe is magical.
And
Breeze.
Remy's set.
Breeze, everything is magical. And the rest of us don't actually wear metal, well, your breastplate. I think, didn't Jenna do magical shit to it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's basically your shield, Barnabas's armor. If we encounter a rust monster, sorry Barnabas, you're taking the rear.
And I'll just try to go sand shield unless I absolutely have to pull it out. So
Out of character Sans shield.
thank you, Sans. Thank you.
Thankfully we're too far north for Remorazes. That's a good thing. Think a cross between a centipede and a cobra and make it the approximate size of a dragon.
Oh, gods.
No, thank
Purple
you.
worm was bad.
I fought one of those. Those are great.
Ugh.
Why are they that big? That seems unnecessary.
They eat polar bears!
Ugh.
Okay, Let
You're
me
sure we're not
correct
going to run
myself.
into any of those?
Why is that entire section of the world made of things that big?
Because there's a lot of space and they expand to fill it. I mean, you might as well ask why, why burrowing maws are that big.
I don't want to be lunch again. If I try to ask, I'm going to be lunch again.
Yeah, also there might be,
Clarity, what? Oh no.
then there's Quaggoth. They're kind of humanoid bat wolf looking things, and apparently they serve the drow, so if we see any of those, we're in drow territory and we might have a problem.
Oh.
Oh,
We took a
boy.
wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, and there's another consideration that we might have to make, if in terms of whose territory we may or may not be invading. Mind flayers.
Oh,
Mm.
boy.
I think you all heard about mind flayers.
Mhm.
This underground is where they live.
Hey.
I like my
Most of what I
brain.
remember from stories and miscellaneous adventuring books is and other stuff in and around mom and mama's spaces is just your brain equals soup.
Mm.
And they have these little brain dog things that also brain soup you.
Intellect
first-
devourers.
And something about them climbing into your head,
Ugh.
literally.
Yeah, that's kind of how they turn you into, well, basically they, as Hazel puts it, they turn your brain into soup and then they climb into the bowl and drive your body around.
Ugh.
Like one
That
of
is
those
not
mining
okay.
No, but it's I'm sure those natural philosopher individuals would say it's part of the ecosystem.
I don't want to be a
That-
bipedal minecart.
No, why?
I don't know
You
how
don't
I
want
would
your-
rhyme that.
I don't think you would, because your brain would be soup.
Yeah, I can't lyric with soup.
Well,
Hey, I
there's
think
a
we all got
rhyme.
our heads hey, solid. I like Clarity's brain where it is.
Out of character. Welcome to the Underdark, where everything hates you.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
Worst
And
part is, welcome to my version of the Underdark, which is everything about the Underdark.
Oh no.
I think you have the
It's
idea.
everything about the Underdark and it's been filth infected.
Yeah.
It's basically everything about the Underdark multiplied by Thess.
Mm.
Mhm.
The expression on your face is great.
cue eternal screaming.
I think you broke him.
Nah, only
Nah.
temporarily. He patches up well. So like, well, sorry if I put anyone off their dinner, but you're going to be prepared. I mean, this is on top of potential. I mean, there's probably not any Drow, Durgar, or Mind Flayer settlements in the area, just because we'd be hearing more about that if that was an issue, because they'd know by now. They probably wouldn't consider some of this stuff, piercers,
Cloakers.
that kind of thing. I think that's just Tuesday.
Good to know.
But believe me,
I mean,
not so much Tuesday. It's just deep gnomes are probably a little bit better at dealing because they camouflage a little better.
Yeah, I mean, that, and they,
so two-person
live around
watches
here,
keep the
so-
food sealed away.
Do we think my spell might help in any way? Probably not. Foot.
Well, I mean, for cloakers, doesn't matter. They see in the dark anyway. and that includes magical dark, from what I've been able to tell.
Lovely.
I'm just saying, be on your guard, guys.
We will.
That's
But
a solid plan.
I'm going to see what I can pick up in terms of traveling supplies from the kitchen out here, and then we'll head out to a good hunting, camping kind of site.
And start doing whatever the grid is.
Pretty much,
Looking
although
for-
we probably want to get ourselves situated and check our immediate surroundings before we go looking for a purple worm, because the last thing we want is to be dealing with a bunch of cloakers and then woomph, from underneath us comes a purple worm, adding to our problems while we're already hurt and distracted.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We make sure the area is clear as we can before we start looking. I know it's not 100% possible, but we should try.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And
so clear grid, then work the grid. Okay.
and then she gets up and heads in the kitchen sort of direction to see if she can wrangle some bits and pieces. And she has apparently
Whew.
struck everybody silent.
A lot to think about.
This is going to be a lot crazier than I think any of us were expecting, am I right?
Mhm.
And Seth is just, I was expecting it
Yeah,
to be.
I mean, I was expecting crazy because it's us. Maybe not quite the spectrum of
It-
crazy, but
Seth looks over at Darvin. We were in the wastes.
true, true, true.
That's probably kind of a baseline.
Fair.
Yeah. Just still stuck mentally in that Goldendale is what I'm used to, and every time I go anywhere on this side of the continent, it just feels that much crazier than it probably should.
Well, the only reason Goldendale doesn't have bigger, weirder problems is because
It has the biggest and weirdest problem. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. But
no, that's I didn't have to say it. That's fine. But also, I mean, I don't think those problems are going to necessarily turn up when you defeat the dragon. That was the only point I wanted to make. It's just that plus Hazel,
Yeah?
how would any of the forest problems get anywhere near you with Twilly and Miranda? You maybe just didn't notice. Because to be
Yeah,
fair,
that's also fair.
Ava and Darvin to an extent, but less so because he wasn't really with a governing part of any particular family. But Ava in particular, part of the reason that her house went down the way it did was that a lot of its fighting force was out dealing with some of the shit that you find in forests. Occasional gnolls, ettercaps in the forest. You're still not 100% sure what an ettercap is, but it sounds bad. And various other of the weird forest shit that you get. So, basically when she came to Goldendale and it was like there's this woodland here and nothing's ever attacked them. And then she knew what Twilly and Miranda were and like, oh, that would be why.
Mhm.
Sounds like they were the ones keeping away the dire bears, the gray renders, and all kinds of other giant, nonsensical things that go bump in the woods.
Also explains, usually I'm not an expert on families, but I don't think mind flayers are most people's bedtime stories.
I hope
They
not.
wanted
Yeah.
they wanted you to
Stories
know
I
that
either heard in town or dug out of a drawer when I probably shouldn't have.
they never kept anything like that locked up. I was going to run with it for the reason I'm going to have first. I'll explain in a minute. They wanted you to know that danger was out there, but they didn't want you to have to face it until you were, well, ready.
Yeah.
Anyone raised by those two is probably going to be geared in an adventurer's direction.
I mean, I guess we can just take one look at Skylar and Faraday, and that kind of the example right now.
Well, Faraday was already like that. She came back like that, so I assume she was already like that.
And I guess that just adds to this. And to Goldendale being Goldendale, holy... Wow. You sweet Paylor, I apparently come from a place full of... alarming.
Everybody comes from a place made of alarming. It's called the world.
Yeah.
It just has some really good parts too.
Yep.
And on that note, LSA comes back with a sack over her shoulder. I have things.
Huzzah!
Does anybody want to? And first, Seth just sticks it in bag of holding, or empty spits out because it doesn't fit in the entire mouth of the thing. Okay, we have supplies and things, and that maybe should have gone into Hazel's bag of holding, but we can sort that out later.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, probably we could split the rest of that once we have the grid clear.
Well, it depends on how long it takes to get there, not to mention, just because we can't see the sun doesn't mean that night's not happening.
That too. Anyone know what time it is?
It's now.
I mean, it's about half an hour before the traditional dinner time is about the best I can do you for.
Yeah, that feels about
That'll
right.
work.
Yeah, that feels
That'll
about
work.
right.
Well, we have just eaten, but it feels like we ate a little too early, but not too early.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and from there they are on foot. And to begin with, there's light. Yeah, there's not quite torches, but those little miniature suns, apparently strung from bits of the walls, or hammered in so they don't wobble, but they're held and connected by more of those black vine things, just skinnier ones than the ones you saw at the bottled lightning place.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even smaller mining carts. These ones are not for riding, trundling. In some cases, bits of debris. In some cases, various. It looks like ruby in this down this particular pile. You walk down that way for about an hour, and you're starting to get into places that clearly were worked because the lights are still on, but there's nobody in them anymore. So you get the impression that this is probably around about the territory that either Bitey has already been or might be next, or something along those lines.
I'm paying attention to any sound.
A perception check from anyone who's...
Yeah, given Alice's advice, I'm gonna also try and keep an eye out.
6!
18.
7.
Nice.
Of course, technically speaking,
16.
18.
technically speaking, the humans should have disadvantage.
Oh, I can roll again if you want.
The humans and the Minotaur. Anyone without dark vision.
Well, I rolled a 6, so you don't get much worse than that. Although I'll roll again if you want, just in case a natural 1.
Okay.
Okay.
You want Brian and me to roll again too?
Please do.
Yes.
I should
And I
have.
got an nat 20!
You see, that's the other reason why. It's just funny.
Oh well, that's a waste.
12 and a 16.
13.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, there's noises, but difficult to tell whether those are minor voices. The voices of miners down other tunnels, and you've got children, don't you? I can hear them.
He's right outside my door.
Yeah, but yes, you're not entirely sure if they're the voices of miners or just natural rocks going a little bit clunky or something else. I mean, it's just sounds. I mean, yeah, there are shadows, but you currently still have the lights, although they do now seem to be strung out a bit further apart, and some of them seem to have gone dark, and you're not sure why.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't know anything about changing light bulbs, so...
Yep. Country bumpkin.
And you eventually... Well, to be fair, I think Remy might have some idea about changing light bulbs, but... you eventually come out into what appears to be a disused... You come out right about the top there. Into what appears to be a disused bit of mine that appear to be amethysts from the looks of things. It's difficult to see, but from what you've got, there's an old mining tract that went sort of that general direction, and but this was clearly sort of a pretty significant bit of load. But while the tunnel you came in from was clearly, hacked out by people who were trying to get at various bits, the tunnel coming in from that end is kind of suspiciously straight, and although it does have, mining cart tracks in it, so it does still seem to be someplace, particularly for Ava, who's tracked enough in her time. This is probably a comfortable spot for something that burrows in that kind of way, and there's enough space to pitch a tent. So we want to start our thing here. I mean, I'm not seeing anything moving in the corners or anything like that, and there's only a couple of tunnels anything could come at us from, unless they're the burrowing thing we want.
Uh-huh.
Not seeing
I call
any...
tent dibs.
We all get tent dibs. The tent is for all of us.
Oh, that's what I mean. Dibs on setting it up.
Okay. So, yeah, Hazel sets up the tent. What do the rest of you guys want to do while Hazel is setting up the tent?
Just have another, careful listen and look around as well.
Remy casts light on the rock that she can carry and pass around.
Yeah, Alice, meanwhile, is setting up a fireball, because obviously if we're going to settle out here, it's better to have fire if you need it. Clarity?
Sure.
No. That's out of character. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm going to.
It wouldn't occur to Alice to get someone to light a fire for her.
I'm going to sort of look around and see if there's anything, like any traps of any sort that somebody might have laid for other creatures. And
that's a
just
dungeon delver thing, isn't it? If memory serves me correctly.
Well, I can check for traps without like having to
without
slow
slowing
down.
down, but you can also
Check for secret doors.
That's for secret doors. Yep.
Yeah.
To avoid or resist traps, resistant damage dealt by traps. Okay, so yeah, because you're looking rather than poking, make me another perception check.
Okay.
It doesn't look like anyone set any traps here. I mean, to be fair, if there was something the size of a purple worm, you would have a very hard time hiding it. But that check around is going to take a while because it's a fairly large space. Barnabas, what are you doing?
Keeping guard.
Okay. No,
Go
sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, yes, I'm done. Go.
Well, I was just wondering, are you watching Clarity as she goes around the perimeter?
Yes.
Or, but there's also Ava going around the perimeter in the other way. There's Hazel with her hands full setting up the tent. There's Alice with her hands full setting up the fire. Where are you guarding?
Okay. I'll guard Hazel setting up the tent.
Okay. Yeah, because you're also close enough to Alice at the firebolt to be watching out for everything. Darvin.
I will I'll accompany Clarity on her foyer. I think is the word. No, that's not the word. What did I say that? Anyway, looking for traps.
It's foyer's anteroom.
Yeah. Anyway.
I was just trying to foray.
Foray. That's it. Thank you.
Do I need to light my sword, or is that enough?
No, there's a couple of little spots that are still. There's fewer of those little suns active here than there is. So basically, Alice has cleared away this debris and is starting to make a fire around there, and has also given Hazel some space to put up the tent, so that these mining carts give some cover. Clarity is sort of Clarity and Ava and Darvin in their own general areas, sort of going around the perimeter. Remy, her best chance at finding a rock is this little scree pile over here. And Hazel's setting up the tent. Froseth is probably watching out for Ava because nobody is accompanying her. We do not want to forget the Silver Dragonborn.
Mm-hmm.
And while you all are doing your separate bits of chore, etc., everything, including the lit up rock in Remy's hand, goes pitch outside of dark vision black.
Oh, crap.
Nice.
And since we're at about that time,
Oh, crap.
I
Damn it, you just
appropriately
killed the light.
stalled.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did worse than that. But I did kind of want to wait until we got Antheus back to truly appreciate this, because I've been wondering whether I could do a lead into another bit of bullshit, and well, more of a similar bit of bullshit that you kind of left unfinished. Not entirely your fault, but still. Yeah. you have a really good relationship with one of Nye's old patrons. The nice one.
The other one is a jerk.
And he's
Oh,
still
no.
incredibly pissed.
Oh no.
And he just killed the lights.
Oh, he did worse than that, but you'll have to find out exactly what he did in
God.
2 weeks' time.
Ah.
We're about to have a day.
Later, guys.